This is a 2023 16-inch MacBook Pro Max. I've recently received this machine a few days ago, and after unboxing it and cracking it open, the first thing that came across my mind was, how do I want to set this up? So that's what this video is about. We are going to be discussing how to set up a new MacBook machine for programming and productivity. So if you've recently bought a new Mac and you're wondering how you should set your machine up, then this video is right for you. Now, in order to help guide you through this video, I've divided this video into 3 sections, and each section is going to be outlined in the timeline for this YouTube video. So if you want to go ahead and skip to a section, you can go ahead and look at the timeline and just skip to that section. The first section is going to be what I'm calling a baseline setup, which is basically settings and preferences that you can set up on your Mac machine. The second part is what I'm calling command line applications, and that is going to be things like the terminal. The final phase or stage in this video is going to be what I'm calling desktop applications. That's where I will be setting things up like browsers, Slack, all these applications that help you with productivity as well as your day-to-day work. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you and something that you might be able to use, please continue to watch the video. And without much more to say, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so what we're going to do here is what I'm calling a baseline setup. When I first get my MacBook Pros or my iMacs, there's just a couple of things that I like to set up. Let's start with the appearance. I've already set this to dark mode. I like to run my theme in dark mode. Now the next thing that we are going to do is go ahead and look for the trackpad. Once we are there, what we are going to do is go ahead and select click in bottom right corner. This is sort of for us older folks who are just so used to having to right click on a mouse. Next, we are going to go over to scroll and zoom. I like to turn off natural scrolling so that when I actually scroll down, it scrolls down, and when I scroll up, it scrolls up. If you leave that setting on, what happens is the opposite. When you scroll down, it goes up, and when you scroll up, it goes down. Let's see if there's anything else here. Nope. Now the next thing we can do is go check the dock, and as you can see here, I have changed the size of the icons as well as adding some magnification so that we can have that little animation when you hover over one of the icons. Another thing that I have done with the dock is removing a bunch of the apps that I don't think that I will be using. I also made sure that I updated to the latest version of Mac OS. Now let's go ahead and head to the next section. Alright, so for what I am calling phase 2, we are going to be installing command line applications. The first thing that I did off camera was install Xcode. With Xcode, sometimes it takes a while and you have no idea how long it's going to take, so I just went ahead and did that ahead of time. Let me go ahead and open that and make sure that we accept the terms. After that, let's go ahead and install whatever it's asking us to install. And then we can just wait until it's done so we can get started. Let me go ahead and open up the terminal. And now I have my links here. So the first thing that I want to do is open up Homebrew and install it. Now, Brew is a package manager for macOS or Linux, and it's extremely useful. It just makes it easier on macOS and allows you to install applications a lot quicker. Let's go ahead and copy this here, and what we want to do now is paste that into the terminal, and then we can get started. If this takes a while, I will just fast forward through this, but this should not take that long. So now what we want to do here is make sure that we copy these instructions and go ahead and paste these into the terminal and run that command. Now let's go ahead and check out that file and see if we see the command in there. Make sure that we have that. Let's exit the terminal and open it back up. Go ahead and run the brew command. And as you can see here, the command is installed on our computer. Now let's go ahead and jump right into it and make sure that we install things in the right order. Typically, you can install Node by going to the website and installing it, and it comes with npm also, but I like to install nvm first and then install Node using nvm. So let's go ahead and install nvm. And that is done. Let's see if it's working. Nope. Let's quit the terminal. Start over and let's see. It looks like I might be missing something. CSHRC file. So let's go ahead and create that. And now let's go ahead and add this in here. Source it and then type in nvm. Okay, now we have nvm installed. That was a little bit of a hiccup there, but now that we have nvm installed, all we got to do is run brew install node. Let me expand this. All right, so that should have installed the latest version of Node. Let's take a look. Yup, looks like we have the latest version. The next thing that I want to do is let's go ahead and look for the nerd font, because we are going to be slightly customizing the terminal. So I think what we want to do is install the hack font. So let's look for that. Here we go. Let's go ahead and download that. Now let's go ahead and install these fonts. One way I have found that's easy to do this is to just double click on them. Go ahead and install these. And now we should have all those fonts. Now that we have that out of the way, I want to talk about Antigen. Antigen is a plugin manager for CSH, and it actually allows you to work with oh-my-zsh without having to give up all the power to oh-my-zsh. A lot of times when you are customizing your terminal, you are going to have plugins from different places, and I think Antigen does a better job of managing all of those plugins for you without too much trouble or having to do any hacks. So let's go ahead and install Antigen. If you want to take a look at this, you can take a look at their GitHub page. It's csh-user/antigen. Go ahead. We can install it with brew. All right, it looks like it installed it. Now we need to add this inside of our file. Source that file. And if we type in Antigen, you can see here, please give a command to run. The first thing that I want to install is going to be oh-my-zsh. So let's go ahead and open that file again. And right here, we are going to type Antigen use oh-my-zsh. Next thing that we are going to do is make sure that we apply those changes. And let's go ahead, change and close this, exit the terminal and start the terminal again. And you can see here it's saying installing oh-my-zsh. Next thing I want to do is actually, before I start to theme my terminal, let's go ahead and download the terminal that we are going to be using, because we are not going to be using the traditional shell. So let's go ahead and download iterm2. And actually, if you want to download this using brew cask, you can, but I'm actually going to download it using the traditional way. Go ahead and open this. Move to the applications folder, check automatically, and there we go. What I want to talk about next is Starship. I have worked with Starship before when I was using the traditional terminal, and I would customize the prompt to something that is very specific to this. And what I found out was that there is a plugin that I can use that gives me the Starship prompt look without actually using Starship itself, and that is called Spaceship Prompt. So let's go ahead and take a look for that. What we want to do here is grab the name of this repo and then go back to our file. Let's open that here and close this older terminal. Let's open this file again. And what we want to do here is add Antigen theme. Let's go ahead and save that. And now let's quit the terminal and start it all over. And you can see it's installing Spaceship Prompt, and now we can see that the prompt has changed. If we go to any of these, yes, we currently have nothing with Git installed or anything like that. But if we take a look at the example Starship, and we can see that this is what it's going to look like if we have a project that is using Git. It gives you information like the node version you are using, as well as what branch you are on, etc. Also, the next thing that we want to do now is we want to have the prompt looking the way that we want. So the next thing we do is add a theme. And for that, we can go ahead and go to iTerm to themes, I believe it's called. And here, the theme that I like is called Andromeda. Here we go. So what we want to do is click on that theme, grab the contents of that file. As we can see, the name of this file is andromeda.itermcolors. I'm going to use a terminal to do this because I tried to use a text edit app and it added an extension and rich text formatting that we didn't need. So Andromeda.itermcolors, and I misspelled that. Move to Andromeda.itermcolors. VIM, and insert that, save it. What we can do next is go to iTerm 2, then go to settings, go to profiles, look for the colors, and down here, color presets, we are going to import, and let's see where that file is at. Where did we save it? Move that to the desktop. Now import that again. Grab that, open. Close this down. It looks like I forgot to select the preset, so let's make sure that we pick the right preset, which is Andromeda. And there we go. Now we have the color theme that we want with the prompt style that we want. Now, what we want to do next is make sure, let's go back to settings and let's go to text. And here for the font, we need to make sure that we pick Hack Nerd to make sure that we get all of those glyphs and icons that we want to use. I'm probably going to show you that later because right now we don't have any repos. So right now you cannot see it, but actually, let's see. Let's just pull down a random repo down from GitHub. So let me go to my GitHub account, and what we want to do is, let's see. Let's go for this Next.js project. This should be something we can use. Let's go ahead and grab that. git clone. All right, let's go into that project. As you can see right here, we are in main and we have our prompting here and our new theme. Now with that being said, I'm likely making a video going much deeper into the setting of the terminal because there are a lot of more plugins and customizations that you can add to this. So if you're not seeing this pop up on the left top right now, that means the video hasn't been released. But at some point in the future, I will be releasing a video that will take this to the next level and customizing the terminal a lot more. If you are seeing that, then you are watching this in the future. Go ahead and take a look at that. And with that, we are done with this section. In the next section, we are going to be installing productivity apps. These are things that are more along the lines of desktop apps, things like Chrome, Firefox, Brave, which are browsers, and other apps that I use day to day for my productivity. Alright guys, so in the last section, we just finished installing command line based applications. Like I said before, we are going to be working on desktop apps. I'm going to do something a little bit different in this video so that the video doesn't get too long. We are just going to focus on the apps that I recommend you use as a developer and for use with productivity to make you more productive. So let me pull that up. Start from the beginning. The first thing I'm going to recommend that you use is Amphetamine. This is a keep wake utility app. So what does that mean, you ask? This allows with the click of a button or an option selection to be able to prevent your Mac from going to sleep or locking the screen. A lot of times when I'm working on my Mac and I am focused, or I want to walk away and come back, or I am downloading something and leave for a few minutes, it can even mean airdropping some large files to another device. I do not want my Mac to do anything or to kill or interrupt that process. macOS and Apple in general is notorious for doing this, and I do not like it. So this app helps to prevent those types of issues for me. The next application that we are going to discuss are the browsers. So the first one that I'm going to download is going to be Chrome. Chrome, as we all know, has a bunch of dev utility tools that we can use. But in reality, all of the browsers nowadays provide the same utilities. So I also download Firefox. Firefox is actually my main browser, which I use on the day-to-day for browsing and for regular web things, and even when I'm doing web development. But a lot of times I just switch to Chrome because Chrome has utilities and plugins that just work better. The last browser is called Brave. Brave is a wonderful browser and it's based on Chromium, I believe, just like Chrome, so there are not many differences here. Again, I like using all these browsers for different reasons, but also when you are doing web development, you might want to do cross-browser testing, and having as many browsers to test the functionality is a good idea. Moving on to the next application. This application is called Raycast. Now, Raycast is not really a new application, but it's gaining a lot of steam. I used to use an app called Alfred app, which was basically replacing Spotlight, which this is replacing, which itself is replacing the Spotlight on the macOS system. This does a lot of the things that Spotlight does, as well as the Alfred app, and there is a free version and a paid version. With the free version, you can get features like app launcher, the search bar, hotkeys, snippets, and clipboard history up to 2 months, I believe it is, or maybe 3 months. Now the paid version comes with a bunch of AI capabilities. It allows you to do theming so you can customize how it looks. It also comes with cloud storage, aka sync, so you can have all of your devices have the same shortcuts, hotkeys, snippets, etc. There are also a bunch of plugins, and for example, something that I always have to do is format JSON data. This has a plugin that just formats that for you, and a bunch of other different plugins. I'm actually going to be doing a video on this separately, so look out for that. Moving on to the next app, we are going to be talking about Visual Studio Code. Now, if you are any type of a developer, there is a high probability that you are using VS Code. Unless you are a Vim expert or you are using NeoVim or something to that effect, and if you are, more power to you. For those of us that are human and use VS Code, it's an excellent code editor with a fantastic amount of plugins that you can use. And this is, again, something that I am going to set up another video so that I can take you through customizing your Visual Studio Code and what plugins you may want to use. Now, moving on to Docker. Not everyone is going to need this, but if you are a developer who needs to work in a virtual environment or your company uses containerization, this is an application that you are going to need. So this is something that I usually install whenever I need to set up a new machine. Up next is an application called Sourcetree. This is basically a GUI for Git, and for me, I just like seeing things visually and in a more organized way. I'm not someone who likes to view the history on GitHub itself. I prefer a visually representation like this. I come from a background in drawing and graphic design, and I always prefer to see things visually. The next application is called DiffMerge. This application allows you to diff files or entire folders. A lot of time, again, because I'm a visual person, when I am doing diffing between files or folders, I prefer a visual representation. I'm not really a fan of the diffing tool GitHub provides, so for me, this is the application that I go to. If you have an application that you do recommend that is better or more modern, please leave a comment and let me know the name of the app, because I'm also looking for better applications all the time. Next up is Spectacle. This is basically like the OG app, which is being replaced by Rectangle. I see a lot of channels and video referencing Rectangle, and in fact, in the documentation here for Spectacle, you can see here that they are telling you this project is not being actively maintained. And right here they say, thank you for the folks that have made Spectacle the first app they install on a new Mac. Spectacle users have recommended Rectangle. So whether you like to use Spectacle or Rectangle, I just think that these utilities are fantastic. As mentioned before, this is Rectangle. If you're looking to start a new app with no history with Spectacle, I would recommend you use this instead, because this is still being maintained. Now, there are two more applications that I'm going to recommend. The first one is Zoom, and as you know, Zoom became one of the largest, most important companies in the world during the pandemic, as everyone started to work remote, and in order to have communication and visually see each other in conferences and meetings, it was necessary. Zoom just became extremely popular, and a lot of companies are using it today. The last one is going to be Slack, another application that a lot of companies use. Now, if you're not familiar with Slack, go ahead and do some research on it, because I feel like at some point you are going to work for a company that uses Slack. Slack is really, really neat. It allows you to have channels, communicate in private sessions with folks. It allows you to set meetings, and it also allows you to have some fun. My company has a bunch of channels made for posting things like memes or GIFs and things of that nature. So it's a really cool application that offers a ton of utility, whether you are a dev, manager, CTO, CEO, or even HR. All right, everybody, that is a wrap. Thank you for watching this video. Truthfully, I hope that you enjoyed it and found something useful in this video. If you did enjoy it, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing. Over here, I'm going to recommend a video for you to watch, and here on the left, I'm going to allow YouTube to pick a video for you. I appreciate you, and I hope to see you back soon. Peace.